I'm sorry for the Calgarians, I don't know how to say, but Calgary is so boring.
Toronto's rental market has lost its sense of urgency.
Average one bedroom in downtown Toronto, $2,200. People have been leaving Toronto in search of more affordable places to live.
So it's really crazy to me that I'm now approaching my 1 year mark living back in Calgary. Like, I felt like I just got here not too long ago. I want to address, I am aware that I haven't made a video in quite some time, and I apologize. I was actively helping out a buyer client of mine find a home in Calgary. And funny enough, they actually found me through watching one of my YouTube videos, but nonetheless, we were able to secure a home, and I'm so happy for them. So if you're watching this for some reason, thank you so much. Anyways, back to my living situation. Life in Calgary has been like really good, like a lot better than I expected. And I wanted to make a video that I talk about some of the day-to-day differences that I noticed living in Calgary versus Toronto. Before we begin, if you could do me a quick favor by smashing that like button or the subscribe button. We're funny enough approaching 6,000 subscribers, and I know it's just an arbitrary number, but it still means a lot to me that you took the time. And now let's get into the daily differences. All right, let's begin with the obvious one, which would be the tax cut that we have in Calgary. Well, entirely Alberta in general. You see, on a day-to-day, let's be honest, you're going to be spending money, whether it's something as small as grabbing coffee or at your favorite shop or just grabbing dinners with your friends. You're gonna have to pay taxes. But at least over in Calgary/Alberta, it's only 5%. That's right, Alberta doesn't have any provincial sales tax, whereas in Toronto, your overall taxes are up 13% total. So for example, that same $100 shoes that you bought in Toronto would have costed you $105 after taxes in Calgary, saving you $8. And if you want to think of it like this, every $100 pair of shoes you buy in Calgary, you can buy yourself, say, like an overpriced Starbucks drink with that $8 savings. Also, I'll give you guys a bonus point just because I'm in real estate. When you're buying a home here in Alberta, there's actually no land transfer tax. Like, you would pay $0, which is such a massive financial advantage, because I'm telling you, if you bought a 100K condo purchase in like Toronto, for example, that could have costed you upwards to like $10,000 or more, which is crazy because in Calgary, you would have simply just avoided this entirely. Number two, let's move on to the weather, and I will tip my hat over to Toronto for being the better overall weather. You wouldn't believe the number of friends who I like try to convince to move to Calgary, and they're always telling me things like,
"Oh, but Frank, I could never move to Calgary. It's way too cold there. Like, what's the point of saving all that money when you're just staying at home all day?"
Okay, that was a bad impression of my friends out there, but believe me, I've heard it all. And I won't lie, I do notice the fluctuation of temperatures here to the point that you can't really even trust, say, like the weather app on your phone. Like, you can click on the weather app and it'll say like sunshine on the Saturday, and you're like, sick, time to go hiking because it's Calgary. Then Friday rolls around and you're like, nope, time to watch, I don't know, Frank's YouTube videos. Actually, it's even a good idea to leave like a light jacket in your car trunk, because let's just say our weather here sort of had mood swings. But honest to God, like our winter here really aren't that bad. And if you don't believe me, I made a video about this, so check that out. I'll have like some clips of it. So check out my video of what winters look like in December. Number three, let's talk about the freshness of air quality in Calgary overall. Like, I know there's gonna be weeks where there are wildfires that occur in, let's say, BC that travels over here that can impact our air quality to even like danger zones, but not to scare you. But it did happen earlier this summer. But overall, coming from a city like Toronto and moving here, more times than not, you'll agree that there exists more like better air quality. Like, you smell that freshness in the air. I often hear this when I have friends visiting from out of province, and that will claim the air feels a lot cleaner, usually from Toronto, let's be real. But I often tell them that there's just less smog compared to Toronto's like urban density. And honestly, this is great if you're really into outdoor activities. Like, I often go for runs along the Bow River here out in Calgary, and without me kind of realizing it, I feel like I can travel a lot further in distance, just given that the air quality here is overall better in comparison to like Toronto. Like, when I was over there out in Toronto, I would be doing marathon training, traveling from like North York running all the way down to like downtown Harborfront area. And the difference is just night and day. Number 4, another thing that I've noticed, and it's a little bit biased, but I find people here are a lot more friendlier in comparison to Toronto. And if you don't believe me, I totally get it, but I suggest coming here just to visit and seeing it for yourself. Now, my theory has to do with many factors. One simply has to do with the reduced cost of living and the reduced commute times. Like, if I told you that I could save you more money and cut your commute times in half, I'm quite confident, all things equal, that you would just be a lot more happier as a person. Like, you could actually afford to have more patience for, let's just say someone's crossing the road and they're walking a little bit slower. You wouldn't care as much, or you would just have more personal time back to do things like go to the gym or go for a run. Like, I personally just find people in Calgary they seem to be a lot more open and approachable, especially on like a day-to-day interaction, because they're just not in such a big rush as they might be in Toronto to get to their next destination. Number 5, one thing that I've noticed is that Calgary roads feels a bit odd. And I'm sorry, because I lived in Winnipeg and Toronto, but here sometimes lanes just end unexpectedly. Like, I'll try to find some B-roll for you, but it'll like somehow just force you to like merge quickly over in a short distance. Another subtle thing I've noticed that in the winters in Toronto and Winnipeg, I've got used to seeing sand on the roads, but here in Calgary, they use a sand salt mixture called pickle, about 97% fine gravel and 3 to 4% salt when it's very cold, rather than using pure sand. It is cheaper, but the thing about gravel is that it can chip your windshield. So often around Calgary in town, you'll see many cars, mine included, with windshield cracks. To this day, I still cry about. And another thing is that you cannot do U-turns at traffic lights or many other urban situations. I actually, believe it or not, learned this the hard way, because I, not too long ago, got a ticket for doing a freaking U-turn at an intersection, which was dumb because my GPS told me to do so, but lesson learned, can't do U-turns out in Calgary. Number 6, I find people in Calgary often go to bed a lot earlier in comparison to Toronto. I believe this largely has to do with reduced commute times. Like, people here can finish work and do what they need to do after work to get to bed a little sooner. I also noticed that stores, restaurants, and places to go or do generally close much earlier. So there's not as many evening activities to even choose from. But in Toronto, there are just far more late night restaurants and places to do or visit. Combine that with larger commute times, many people don't get home until much later in the evening and still needing to grab dinner, shower, or hit the gym. And that means they're getting closer to bed, close to midnight. On a personal level, I feel like I can get more done in a day simply because commuting to my grocery store or to work takes half the time. I still realistically sleep closer to midnight, but I know that I have the option to easily wrap up earlier if I wanted. Number 7 is how pet friendly of a city Calgary is. Like, more often than not, I see a ton of pet owners, lots of dogs in my building, outside, in the parks, and generally I notice that there are just way more dog parks here. Even when walking around small businesses or restaurants, you'll often see like a dog bowl laying out there. I think it's because the city has far more green space, making it easier to bring dogs to the mountains. By comparison, in Toronto, you'll likely live in a condo, constantly going up and down just to take them out. And beyond that, there's really no grass out there. It's like a concrete jungle. Just not as ideal in comparison to over here, but that's just my opinion. Another funny fact is that Alberta actually bans rats as pets. Like, I'm not complaining because in Toronto, I didn't live with rats, but there was mice once upon a time in my basement legal suite. Anyways, point is, it's banned. I also found that the pet rules, like in apartments or condos, here in Calgary just are a lot more lenient in comparison to Toronto, like where landlords are like, absolutely no pets, no nothing. Like, generally speaking, people here are a lot more chilled and relaxing when it comes to pet ownership, except for rats. Last but not least, at number 8, I find that the city of Calgary tends to be a lot more modern and clean, and like hear me out. Because at first I thought it was just me, but whenever I had friends or family come visit from like another city, Toronto, they often comment how clean it is. Like, downtown Calgary has a lot more modern architecture and new developments in comparison to Toronto. But personally, I feel like there's just many places here that feel brand new, whether it's a restaurant, a gym, or even like a basketball court. Things just often feel more fresh, better maintained. For me, that adds to like the overall appeal of living here. It's not just the city that looks clean. It feels like it's moving forward and keeping things up to date. So there you guys have it. Those are the 8 day-to-day differences that I've noticed living in Calgary compared to when I was living in Toronto. Of course, both cities have their own advantages. I always tell people it really depends who you are and what you value. If you love going out, enjoying the nightlife, or you're just starting your career or going to school, I'd obviously say like a city like Toronto might be a better fit. But if you prefer a slower paced city where affordability, green spaces, and quick access to the mountains are your thing, then Calgary will be your city. And like I always say, there's nothing wrong between switching between the two cities. Like literally just look at me over the last few years. I was still clearly figuring things out, but that's totally fine. But with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate all of you who have supported my YouTube channel over the years. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Follow me on Instagram or smash the like button. And I guess I'll see you guys all in the next one.